Bayless, last day. FS1 was last week. Um, and all people saying good riddance to Skip Bayless. Legacy, talking about his legacy, talking about how he's been a negative for sports media, and I understand that. I and a lot of it I do agree with, but he has made an impact. Let's just say that. Um, I think it's safe to say he is the most hated man in sports media, and a lot of it's his fault because he would double down on takes, regardless of information changed, that were not, you know, real, you know, and he became more and more a caricature as the years went on. And we knew it was inevitable this was going to happen because as the ratings fell, Undisputed, Shannon Sharp leaves Undisputed last year. Shannon Sharp is thriving now in his own space, whereas Skip Bayless is virtually irrelevant now. Stephen A. Smith on his show last week said it as clear as possible when addressing Skip's legacy, and he's the most hated man in media. He had one of the best takes about this, and his take's important because outside of Shannon Sharp, there's been no other person that in Skip's world that's had an impact in working with him than Stephen A. Smith with his time at ESPN. Here's his it's been a little bit lengthy here, but here's Stephen A.'s take on Skip Bayless as he leaves FS1.
In terms of being hated, I don't think Skip cares. Matter of fact, in some instances, I think he takes it as a badge of honor. But I'm going to tell you something that all of us should appreciate about Skip Bayless. You know, one of the things that so many folks miss, especially in this day and age, and it's one of the things that I will openly confess pisses me the hell off. You know, when elder statesmen talk about respecting your elders and stuff like that, you're talking about respecting people who paved the way, because you know something, if they didn't do it, not only would you not have known what to do, you might not have ever been able to do it. There's always pioneers. And when we look at the world of podcasting and sports talk and what have you, Skip Bayless is one of the pioneers. And let me tell you about something that I know for a fact better than anybody. So many people paid too much attention, wondering and lamenting what he said. The hating on LeBron James, the love affair with Tim Tebow, and his fixation on the Cowboys in a positive way, where I'm the troll and all of this other stuff. You know what you miss? If he didn't do what he did, how would we have been able to do what we do? Think about the subjects we tackled. Think about the matters we pontificated about. Think about the sensitive issues that were broadcast over the national airwaves. Think about how polarizing they were. Think about disenfranchised communities and other minorities within this country salivating for opportunities to have a voice and to make sure their voices were heard. Think about the things that people say and do now. If a white older guy like Skip Bayless wasn't willing to take the positions that he took while inviting people to sit opposite of him and challenge him on so many different issues, would debate television be what it is? See, a lot of times we get caught up in thinking about what that person's saying. Sometimes it's the platform they provide. Do you know that there isn't a week that goes by where there's something that I could say, but I know coming from me, it won't work?
He's right. The perspective is correct. And it could both things be right here. Skip Bayless could have been someone that provided enough space for people to come on, react, and give their piece, and I will say initially, race debate was probably a positive thing for a little while. I mean, at the end of the day, people need to understand there's enough space in this world, in this content world, for people to eat. There's different kinds of media we you can listen to. You can listen to debate media, you can listen to conversational media. You know, Skip, own the lane of debate. The problem I have with Skip Bayless is that you know wasn't that his takes were bad, is that his takes weren't. He never really evolved. The shtick stayed the same. In other words, LeBron is not this and that because this and that. He has no rings, and he gets a ring or 2 rings and 3 rings, 4 rings, and his take is still the same as it was in 2010 for LeBron James. For example, his take on Tim Tebow was ridiculous. I know you're a fan, but be objective. He was never objective enough when it mattered, and it got old. One reason why I like Nick Wright, why Nick Wright does this better, and as reports come out now that with Skip being gone, they're looking to make Nick Wright the face of FS1, which I think is a good thing, because Nick Wright's unlike Skip Bayless, Nick Wright is a very sharp dude, knows what he's talking about. He has a little bit of the Skip in him, but the difference is there's a certain way of how he does it that comes off more authentic. He's not someone that doubles down on dumb takes for the sake of clicks. Yeah, he'll say something that makes a little out there. It makes a little bit of doesn't make a lot of sense. But then he'll find a way to make it make sense. And if in the case, give me an example of that, Nikola Jokic, there was not a guy who was more critical of Nikola Jokic than Nick Wright for years. Then when Nikola Jokic won his first title 2 years ago, he pivoted on new information, and it takes someone with less of an ego to do that. And unfortunately, Skip couldn't adjust. Nick Wright can. Nick Wright's younger. He's a little more with it. He's sharp. So if you can make him the face of your network, I'm okay with that. As a Skip in his future, what's gonna happen with him? Does Skip Bayless have a future left on mainstream media? I honestly don't know, because you have ESPN has no interest in signing him, from what I understand. FS1 obviously that's gone now. You obviously have other platforms out there. See, the thing is that you can always find a job. Skip Bayless still has a name value. He may not be as big as he was in 2014 or 2010, but there's still name value there. So I can still see him prop up somewhere else. People say he's retiring. I don't think he's retiring. I don't think Skip could retire. Skip doesn't have any grandkids or grandkids to that I know of anyway. This is his life. Doing this job is his life. He has said in the past that this job was more important than even his marriage. Which, that's his opinion. That's his right to feel the way he feels. I mean, it's not something I would do, but that's how he feels. But I do think someone will probably make an offer. I can see a DraftKings, I can see a FanDuel, or any other platform make an offer. And don't forget, he still has his own podcast, which I'm assuming he owns the rights to as well. And so you'll have that. I'm assuming he's going to continue doing that once a week. Maybe do it more now since he's off TV. I mean, I don't see him going away, especially now too, because football's on the corner, and I'm sure he wants to weigh in on the week at large on the NFL and college football and whatnot. So I'm actually fascinated by Skip Bayless' next move. I really am. And I think he'll be more. I think if anything, he will do more in the digital space rather. That's my prediction anyway. I'm not saying I don't have information, whatever it may be, with that, but I think he'll do more in the digital space. So there's that. And I get, like I said, I get people not like, everybody's reaction is good riddance and all that. You hate when people lose their jobs. Obviously, it's not something you want to praise. But I will say this much: his time was up. And once the stuff with him and Shannon went down, even before Shannon left, we knew that Skip was on borrowed time. The ratings were a disaster. They got worse and worse and worse. Even bringing in Michael Irvin, bringing in Paul Pierce, who you know how I feel about Paul Pierce, obviously. It just it was never getting better for Skip. and the bang, especially when you consider the money they're paying him too. Also on top of that, he's getting paid a shit ton of money. So hope Skip does well wherever he does the next. Obviously, someone who follows media, I'll be checking on that. But yeah, I think him in the mainstream media space may be done. I think he will still have a place somewhere in the digital space. That's my prediction for Skip Bayless. Okay. Before we get